Hey everybody, we are here for part 5 of the Save the Cat experiment. If you don't know what that is, we're outlining a book in 10 weeks live with you guys. And today, this is what we're doing, okay? We are talking about the fun and games beat, which can be very vague and like hard to navigate, but we're really excited because we had some help from our friend Hannah Jane, and she gave us some resources and just some tips to sort of clarify and structure the the fun and games beat. And we're gonna have a lot of fun showing you guys that and telling you more about that later. If you missed anything and you want to go back to watch these other episodes, the playlist is in the description below, but we are going to give you a recap at the beginning. And I'm also now going to introduce my wonderful co-host, Bethany. Bethany, you want to say hi?
Sure. Hi, guys. How are you all doing? We wanted to know, Brittany and I were talking, we're like, I wonder, where people are at in their story. So let us know, like, if you're at the, if you did the Break Into 2 and B story last week and you're like with us, or if you're ahead of us, let us know how it's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I really had to say.
And a bunch of you are doing Camp Nano, right? So let us know if you're doing Camp Nano. Like, have you started writing the story that you started writing at the beginning of the experiment, or are you writing something completely different? Let us know definitely in the comments.
That's a good question. And also let us know if you're editing instead, because I think Brittany and I are both editing for Camp Nano.
We wanted to be working on something new, but it's like, we want to get what we're working on done.
Yes, yeah, I feel like editing is like takes 5 times as long as drafting usually. So
maybe 10 times.
Yeah, maybe 10 times. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we want to just jump in. We want to do a little bit of a recap so that we can sort of catch everybody up if you haven't been here with us, so you've missed a week. So we're going to do that real fast. Then we're going to get right into the fun and games beat. We're going to have you guys help us brainstorm actual scenes for this fun and games, which will be really fun. And we also have built in, because we are doing only one beat tonight, we wanted to build in some time at the end where we're actually going to be asking you guys again more about your stories and what kind of issues you're having, and sort of do like a mastermind kind of brainstorm to help a few of you at the end. So definitely stick around to the end, which will probably end around, like, we'll be like an hour and a half probably. And so we would love to help you guys out as well. Cool. All right. Are we ready to recap?
Let's do it. Let's get this going, guys. It's going to take us like, an hour to run through. I'm just kidding.
We're trying to get like 10 minutes or less if we can.
Yeah, we're going to condense
it. Yeah. So this is our concept. This is what we know so far, what we think we know. Things can change. We're being very flexible because this is an outline, right, you guys? But what we know so far is that it takes place in a forest or wooded land, and 2 warrior princesses are on opposite sides of an ancient family feud between 2 shifter or shapeshifter tribes, and these cultures are inspired by Viking culture. And then I'm going to give it to Bethany to introduce one of the tribes.
Cool. Okay, so there's 2 warring tribes in like a revenge cycle. So the Earth tribe can shapeshift into beasts of the land, and they are ruled by the lion shifters, and we have it in like bunny ears. And they are wealthy, powerful, honorable, very rules-oriented. If you guys remember, Thera is the heir of the Earth tribe. It's Earth tribe, right? Yeah, Earth and Sky. And so she is hiding the fact that she's always had trouble shifting by being overly cocky. She's trying to avoid shifting at all costs. Even if they tell her to, she finds a way around it. And she, like, what we think her need is, using the Save the Cat wants and needs, is that she needs to learn she's good enough. As is, we don't know yet, to be determined.
Cool. And then we have the Sky Tribe, and they can shapeshift into all kind of beasts of the air, so mostly birds, and they're ruled by the eagle shifters. So those are their rulers, and they are less well off. They're sort of cutthroat, manipulative, loose morals. Lore, our second character, Lore, is the heir of the Sky Tribe, who is a trickster, an expert shifter, and she is using that ability to hide her true self. So she needs to learn that she can actually let people in. We're still trying to figure out exactly what she's hiding. There's been a few ideas, but we're running with it.
Yeah, we kind of think that by the time we get to the end, we'll know a lot more about those specific things. But what Thera and Lore don't know yet is that they're sisters. So our little backstory is that the Eagle King had a secret affair with the Lion Queen, and they secretly had twins. And so we're thinking that the Lion Queen revealed only one daughter to her husband, the Lion King, and that's Thera. And then she told the Eagle King to take the other daughter, or possibly we're thinking maybe he even stole her away, and when the queen was trying to keep both. And so the Eagle King took the other daughter, which is Lore, home to the Sky tribe and to his Eagle Queen, who is like, we're thinking they're unable to have had kids. So that leads into
Yes, there's a little more details about this stepmom. We did some changes last week, but here's even more. So Laura's stepmom, we're thinking actually might be human, and that the Eagle King told her that he found Laura in a destroyed village. So she thinks that Laura is like fully just the Sky Tribe. She sees Laura as an answer to prayer and makes her like the daughter she never had. So part of her story might be that she's like really overprotective, but still loves Laura a lot. And we're thinking if there are humans, maybe some humans try to like stay away from the shifters and some humans like really admire them. So we're thinking maybe she's one of those that really admired them and then got married to the Eagle King. We're still figuring out sort of Laura's shard of glass. And just like we gave few different options last week, but that's still up in the air, but we think we can still keep plotting ahead and figure that as we go.
yeah.
Do you want to share Laura's catalyst in the debate?
Sure. So Laura's catalyst is that the Eagle King's advisor, we called him the uncle last week, but now we're just going to advisor, not related, to work with the rest of our plan. He wants his son to inherit the Sky Tribe. And so his idea is to send the king of the Sky Tribe and Lore, the king's daughter, out into an ambush. And Lore, for some reason, she doesn't go with. So the father is killed in this ambush, but Lore isn't. And so then the advisor is trying to kill her still. So he sends Lore to seek revenge at the sacred place. We're not naming anything, by the way, guys. We're just calling it by what it actually is. So then he sends her boy crush, which is his son, to go and kill her. And so that's her catalyst, is she is going out to the sacred place. The debate is her, as the tribe's panicking because her father died, her mother tries to stop her from getting revenge. She's overprotective, possibly. But the advisor says, to push her into it, he says, a real leader would go take revenge. We have intel that the heir will be at the sacred place tonight. And so her stasis equals death. I don't know how to say that out loud, but that's the save the cat thing, right? Yep. Stasis equals death moment is because her father is dead. That's like an actual death. She feels like if she doesn't go to revenge him, she'll look weak or unfit to rule. So that's why she's going. And then you can do Thera.
Yeah, so Thera's catalyst is that her instructor has found out that Thera can't shift on command because she never did the dream ceremony, which is our code word for that. Again, you guys gave us some terms and stuff last week. As Bethany said, we're going to wait to actually announce those things maybe at the very end so that we can call them these terms, make it a lot simpler for everybody to follow along. So he finds out that she hasn't done the dream ceremony to control her shifting. And she's like, oh, no big deal. She's trying to be confident and like not worry about it. But he reveals that she'll soon lose her ability to shift if she doesn't complete the dream ceremony immediately. So her stasis versus death is that her ability will totally be gone if she doesn't go do this. So her debate is actually more of a packing and preparation for the journey to the dream ceremony. Break into two. You want to do this one?
Sure. So Thera's going to go do the dream ceremony at the sacred place while Lore is going out to seek revenge on her. So they're both going to the same place. And it's this break into two, act two world like movement.
Yeah. We're going into this world where they're actually going to interact more with the other clans, specifically each other. And that's where we hit the B story. Mm-hmm. So the story is that Thera eats Oh, so there's got to be, she's going to, right, to do the ceremony.
Yep.
We've decided we do want to go with this idea that she is going to go sort of into a dream state in order to complete the ritual. So we were thinking maybe she eats, someone said, suggested to us, like eat special berries that grow only in the sacred place, or it could be something else, but that's sort of what we have as our placeholder right now. She falls asleep to complete the ceremony rites in that dream state. Then Lore finds Thera asleep, but finds that we're thinking maybe she can't attack her. Maybe there's something like magical about this space that like they can't attack each other in the real world, but in the dream world they can. So she must enter the dream world to then kill Thera. But it's also like if you die in the dream world, you die in real life kind of deal.
So
cool. Yeah, we have this moment where they meet, which we haven't really talked about exactly what their responses are. I think we have settled on the fact that we do want them to look really alike. Even if they aren't identical, we would like them to be pretty darn alike. Maybe someone suggested like even just having like different eye color or a different birthmark or something distinguishable, but we want them to sort of like see each other and then realize like, wait a minute, there is this like connection. And we're going to explain a little bit more about why we think that as we talk about the fun and games. And we've only been going for 10 minutes. We did the recap. 10 minutes.
Woo! I hope you guys like this recap. Let us know in the comments if this was helpful to you to like remember what the heck the story is about. Because every Wednesday, Brittany and I meet and we're like, okay, what are we planning? So let us know if it's helpful. I kind of want to read a few comments before we keep going. Is that okay?
Definitely. Yeah.
There were a couple, like, there's so many people doing Camp Nano and editing with us. So yay. So excited. And then somebody said something cool, but now I've lost it. It was Katie, I think. Yeah, that the fun and games is really fun. Bad guys close in, not so much. We totally relate.
We'll get there in two episodes.
Yes. And the muddy middle in general, as it's called, like Brittany and I, we're hoping that we're going to bring some really cool stuff to you. Actually, mostly Brittany has like figured this out, and Hannah as well, like she talked about at the beginning. So we have some possible tips that might give more direction. Should we go into that and kind of walk through first the fun and games and then these extra things?
For sure. Yeah. Okay, so hope you guys are ready for this. I'm just gonna do, like a recap. Actually, Bethany, do you want to do the recap of the fun and games, and then I can sort of talk a little bit more about like the tips we want to give them in the midst of that?
Good idea. Okay, so the fun and games from Save the Cat is in the novel, it's like 20% to 50% of the whole novel. So it's like the first beat that's massive. And so usually if you guys are anything like Brittany and I, at least, it's gonna throw you. It's gonna be like, what should I put here? You know, like it's just this overwhelming thing. But the idea of it is that it delivers on the promise of the premise. And so the idea is the hero is either like on an upward spiral, upward turn, whatever, where they're having fun and doing well in this new Act 2 world, and they're like succeeding for the most part, or there's a downward spiral and they're floundering and everything's going wrong. And so if you look at your favorite novels, you'll usually see one of these two things, like either it's getting better and better and better, or it's getting worse and worse and worse. And then while they call it the fun and games in Save the Cat, they say, or Jessica Brody says, it might be fun for the reader, but not necessarily for the characters at all. And she uses the Hunger Games as an example of that. And so, like, that's fun to read, but obviously the characters are suffering. And so they're succeeding or they're failing. They're loving it or they're hating it. They're grateful or they're missing their old way of life. It's usually this varied, there's a little bit of a bouncing ball narrative going on. It should be generally an upward path or a downward path with a little bit of a bouncing ball thing going on. And it's going towards a midpoint, which I don't know how much we want to go into that. Should we go into that at all, or just, you guys have read the book?
I think we can talk about that next week. It might a little bit in the sense of like when I give these tips, because we are moving towards the midpoint.
Yeah.
We so like basically just in a very short is that the midpoint is like this moment of truth kind of moment, when the character realizes something about the conflict that they didn't know before, that gives them like sort of something to like take action instead of being reactionary as much. And it's like usually like this plot twist or this like big event, this like party or like something that is like really turns the whole book around. So we are moving towards that, but yeah, let's definitely focus on fun and games. And we've decided that when they are in the dream world and they start interacting and sort of maybe battling a little bit, Laura's trying to kill Thera, Thera's trying not to die, maybe attack back. At some point, they end up switching abilities. So Laura, up till this point, has been an expert shifter, and we know that they're sisters. They don't know that, but for some reason, Laura has gotten this more of the ability to control her shifting, and Thera has. Yeah, Thera hasn't. And so when they switch, like it's almost like Thera gets what she thinks she needs in order to accept herself, in order to believe that she's good enough. And so she starts on this upward motion for the first half of the book where she's like, yes, I can shift. And like, so it's very exciting for her. And so she's on like an upward motion during the first half of the book. Laura has lost everything. She's lost her ability to control her shifting, which again, we want to have something that she's been trying to hide by using her shifting. So that like exposes her. So she has this whole downward motion. And we do want them to sort of like help out each other as they become more friends than enemies eventually. But somebody was asking, I think in the comments, once they're in the dream world, are they staying in there for a while? Are they going their separate ways? What's going on? And I think what we were sort of talking about going forward with is that there's like a scene or two where they are in the dream world, but they do eventually leave it. And when they leave it, they don't realize that their abilities have shifted or have switched. And so they don't realize it until they go back to their own tribes. And then they realize, wow, either great or like crap. And what we were thinking is like, because we want them to be each other's B story, is that we were maybe thinking that they are connected in some way. And we have a few ideas about how they could do that. I thought I took notes on that somewhere, but
notes everywhere.
yeah, from what I can remember, one of our ideas was like, because they're like twins, maybe there's some kind of mirroring effect going on. Like maybe every time they look in a mirror or they look in like a reflective pool of water or anything reflective, they can actually see each other, sort of like the Wicked Witch in Snow White can like see another person on the other side of the mirror and talk to them. So maybe like when they mirror each other, when they see each other in a reflection, they're able to actually communicate. And so we thought that might be a cool way to like for them to go back to their separate tribes and like still experience life in a different way, but they can also like talk continually. So let us know what you think about that.
And we're also like, we would love some other options. Like, should Lore go and stalk Thera, or should there be another way to communicate? Do they have other magic in the world? Like these mirrors, like how do they work? And like if we have them. So yeah, let us know what you think. That's our first brainstorming point, maybe. But yeah, while you're letting us know, we should go into those extra helpful parts for the muddy middle because, well, I'll let you explain, Brittany, because you explain it well.
Yeah, sorry I'm talking a lot, but yeah, I'll explain it.
Yeah. It's super helpful, you guys. I should say, like, seriously, middles are the hardest thing. Because, like, you go in, usually you know your ending, usually. You kind of have an idea. Some people even write the ending first, and usually the beginning is clear. But this middle part, dang.
Yeah, there's so many ways that you could do it, I think. Yeah. So again, we want to give big thanks to our friend Hannah Jane, who is actually an author tuber here on YouTube. And I have a video that she just came out with that she sort of takes Save the Cat beats, and then she takes beats from like these other methods, and she sort of creates one big outline with all of these different points in it. So the video is really cool. We're not going to talk about all of it, obviously, because you can go see her video. It is linked in the description below. But she did give a few points for the fun and games. So I'm going to talk about that. And basically, these extra points that sort of fill out the fun and games come from K.M. Weiland's book, 5 Secrets to story structure. It's free on Amazon. It's a short read. I read it in like a day. But here's sort of the points in there. So first, right as we go into Act 2, that section up to the middle of, so there's like a midpoint to the fun and games. So there's action stuff going on, and then there's like a middle kind of key scene that we're going to talk about that happens in the middle of the fun and games. And then there's like this section between that midpoint and the actual midpoint of the whole book. I hope that makes sense. That other stuff happens. So if we split the fun and games into 3 parts, these are the 3 parts, okay? So the first part, that little section of like multiple scenes, is reactionary. So the main character is reacting to the major change while aggressively pursuing the main story goal. So for example, we could have Thera sort of being like, yes, like these are the powers I've always wanted. And she's sort of pursuing her main goal of like feeling good enough, you know, kind of deal. So that doesn't have a lot of like specificity, but we know what kind of scenes maybe we could read. Then the midpoint of the fun and games, this is the part 2 in there, is that there's a scene where the antagonist's power or the antagonist force's power is displayed in some way. So it's sort of like, oh, we have to remind ourselves of the stakes, and usually new clues that are foreshadowed about what we're going to learn in the actual midpoint of the whole book. And this is called the pinch point. So we've got a reactionary section, a pinch point scene, again with the antagonist power, and the new clues and like the foreshadowing of what's to come. And then after this like antagonistic scene, there's another section right before the midpoint of the whole book that she calls realization. And so the main character is still reacting, but is more informed. They've learned something about the main conflict. And that is sort of leading them towards the moment of truth. So again, fun and games, we have reaction, mostly reacting to what's been going on in the catalyst. We have the pinch point where it's like, oh, the antagonist actually has more power than we thought, and the realization. And so that's going to lead into the midpoint. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Yeah. So you guys, do you like that? Does that clarify at all the middle part? And out of curiosity, Brittany, so you said that's leading up to the midpoint. So does K.M. Weiland's book also have a breakdown for the other middle stuff in a book, aka the bad guys? I'm jumping ahead. I just okay. No, I read this book.
She does the same thing where it's like there is like a pinch point or a midpoint to the bad guys close in, and then she talks about what should be happening right before that and what should be happening right after. So it's like totally like explaining the kind of scenes you should be having, which is really cool.
I need this book. I need to get it.
And it's free. It's free on Amazon, you guys.
That's so cool. Oh my god. It's like a free KDP kind of thing. Like Kindle pages or whatever.
Maybe, yeah. I just thought it was free and I was excited.
Nice. Very cool. So I'm noticing you guys are liking the glass idea. Like Brianna says that the Looking Glass Wars. I've never read that. Is that a book or a movie? I don't know. And then Fanny says, would it be every reflective surface or just mirrors? Which is another, like Brittany was saying, what if it was water too and stuff like that? Right. Brianna says that they broke a mirror from Sirius in Harry Potter, which I didn't know that. That's cool.
Okay, cool.
I don't think this is what Ingrid meant, but I read your comment wrong, Ingrid, and anyway, I'll say the comment first and then I'll say what I thought you said. She said that she liked it and that since they've gone through the switch in the dream world, it would make sense that they've connected in some way like that where they can communicate. I thought I don't know why I read it this way, but I was picturing something like they enter through the mirrors and you can like travel through mirrors. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm getting that. So like if you could see, like if she could see Laura on one side, she could actually just walk through the mirror and get her, but that's crazy. I don't know.
No, but I'm right down.
That's seriously what I thought you said. Do you want to read a couple?
Sure. Jana says, what if they find something in the dream world that is reflective and gets broken during a fight over it, each one taking half and it shows the other person? That would be cool. Okay, so yeah, so I think in Harry Potter, there is something where like he has a piece of a mirror and you can see who's ever on the other side. So yeah, maybe they break a mirror like in the sacred place, and I don't know why they would take the pieces, but maybe they do, and maybe they're valuable or something, and they end up being able to communicate through that. So they could just like have it in their satchel or their
There
pocket
you go.
or something, and be able to pull it out and be like, hey.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me because I feel like when you have magic, you need to have like really firm rules around it. So you can't just like kind of like make it work for you, because then readers can always tell. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So we did talk about, I don't know how much we went in depth on this. I can't remember. We talked about how like if this sacred place and this dream ceremony gives them something physical, whether it's like the host where there's like something that like goes in the ear and attaches to the brain style, or if it's more physical, like you're given like a spirit animal totem or something cool like that. Whatever they physically get, if somehow it could accidentally be transferred over to the other person, we were talking about how that would make the transfer of abilities more visible and clear. But then also, what if that item, totem, I want to call it, could like also communicate somehow? So it's
Right.
That was one idea, and it's sort of one-sided communication. So I don't know if you guys have any ways to play with that and run with it, because that's as far as I got.
Yeah. And two, like, you know, I think Bethany and I have found as we've gone through this experiment, like we love the details and we love like, talking about like, oh, maybe it could be this and maybe it could be that. And it seems like you guys really like that too. But then sometimes we can like sort of lose the overall structure because we're like honing in on these like little details. So definitely let us know what you think, because we want to know, so that when we actually hopefully go write this book, we have some details. But maybe like we can sort of look big picture first and just sort of even go into like a brainstorming session of like what kind of scenes would match these like inner beats within the fun games.
Totally. You're right. You're so right. Like we have to be really strict with ourselves this lab, because this is the biggest beat yet. So we don't have time to get detailed. We got to go really big.
Right. Maybe something that we decide happens in the fun and games will help us clarify like some of these little details that happened earlier, you know?
Totally. So we should have for right now, oh gosh, we'll figure it out as we go. So the reaction part, let's start there. So aggressively pursuing a goal, that makes so much sense that both Laura and Thera need to be going for something. So if they've just met, is there something like Laura would probably be defeated because she didn't kill Thera. So is she going home defeated? And Thera, is she going home to prove herself somehow and go shift in front of someone specific to be like, heck yeah, I can shift now, or, you know.
Right. Yeah. Guys, let us know what kind of scenes would sort of display Thera and Laura going back to their tribes and realizing, you know, that they've switched abilities, and how can they aggressively pursue their main story goal so far. Remember, we're sort of fixing things the wrong way. These aren't things that are actually going to like make things actually better. But yeah, what could happen sort of during this section, and we can sort of start reactionary and move forward. But if you guys have ideas for the other ones too, just let us know and we can pull out those in there.
I feel like we got to start one at a time too. You know what I mean? Like we need to pick one person and like figure out their reaction, and then figure out the other one's reaction, and two at once is too much.
Right. Oh, can I add one more thing though? So the one thing that we do know, or that we think we know, again, we keep saying we think we know, is that we have this like subplot that might, you know, turn into main plot stuff of like this advisor, right, to the Eagle King. Now the Eagle King's dead, and the advisor is like, great, I have, you know, control. Well, sort of, we're still alive. So that's why he's trying to kill her off. And potentially he sent his son, who he wants to become the next king. So we have Boy Crush, right, who is in that opening scene we talked about during that week, right? And so Boy Crush, it sort of has like this playful kind of experience in the beginning with Lore, but the advisor, his father, sends him to go kill Lore. And so potentially we had this like, Lore's going to go kill Thera, and now Boy Crush is coming after her because he's been ordered to kill her. We don't know if he actually wants to kill her or if he's just trying to be obedient to his dad, and like, we don't know what happens there, but that's sort of like a subplot, like love story kind of thing that we were thinking of like playing around with. And sort of, so those are scenes too that we can play with, and figuring out like, is Lore sort of figuring out that plot, you know, with the advisor. And then they're also sort of realizing that they must be connected in some way because they do look alike. So they're probably also trying to figure that out, or at least Lore is. Like Thera might be off in La La Land, just being like, I can and Lore is more like, crap, like why is this happening? I have to figure this out. And she's like trying to drag Thera into it in order to like figure it out.
Ooh, that gives me an idea. So when Brianna said maybe Lore could go into hiding, that made me think like, yeah, what would she be doing if somebody was, number one, sent to kill her and they failed, hopefully. Unless we want to write a book about a ghost. So he failed, and so she knows now that somebody's trying to kill her, right? So maybe her aggressive goal is that she's going, either she's hiding and she's like running, or it could be that she's going to like what's the word that I'm looking for? Confront them. So she's like going to the advisor to confront and going in front of everybody, and like her aggressive goal could be trying to prove it all, but like she's herself now, she can't shift. So like, I don't know if that would influence anything, but her aggressive goal should be like reacting to like, you tried to kill me.
Right. And maybe at this point though, like she's having that conflict mainly with him, or like
even
trying to figure that out, and maybe like behind the scenes, like spying on the advisor a little bit and like trying to, you know,
that totally fits their culture. Yeah.
And maybe Boy Crush went back to his father and like lied and said like, oh yeah, I did it, you know, because he thinks that Lore's not coming back, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Again, we're sort of getting Lion King here with like
you're right,
coming back and be like, oh yeah, I killed Simba. But I sort of like it. But maybe, yeah, Lore is like trying to figure out like why is he trying to like do this, and I don't know.
Well, if it's their sneaky culture and they're very cunning, like keeping secrets kind of style. So maybe to avoid the Lion King, she wouldn't go totally into hiding, but she could come back, and there could be like all this subterfuge, is that the word, where they're like subtly, like she's trying to figure out everything without giving away that she knows he was trying to kill her. She's trying to figure out why. Maybe she's trying to figure out how she is somehow related to this other princess and whatnot.
Right.
So like,
yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good. Keep going.
It would be different than Lion King in that sense, because Laura's not running away to another life necessarily. She's behind the scenes trying to figure stuff out.
Exactly. Like she's still keeping it secret, but for how long? And that gives a lot of tension. I like it. Cool. Okay, cool. I feel like, I love that for Lore. Should we figure out what Thera is doing to react?
Yeah, and we have some comments, I think, here. Ingrid says, and Thera maybe has to go through some tests to show what she accomplished in the dream world, and she is insecure about it, but then she can shift. So yeah, she's still fighting. I think like, again, like we would need her to like be like, experiencing this like high, but then also knowing that she didn't like earn it, and it's not really hers. And so even though she's getting all the recognition like she's wanted to, it's sort of like empty. And she's not getting recognized for like who she actually is. She's getting recognized for what she's like sort of stolen,
What if so in theory, like she can shift really well now, right? Because she has the control. But what if it takes time still to learn control? So what if she has this, oh gosh, how do I say it? Like at 13, if they start learning control, she's still set behind a few years. So she's all cocky, but then every once in a while she has kind of a blooper or an oops moment. And so she's still like, what the heck? I thought I had this down, and like,
right.
I don't know if that's cool.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. That's all I said is maybe that would be cool.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's the point that she would go back to Lore and be like, look, like, this is your gift. Like, I need you to teach me how to use it because I can't go, like, I can't keep, like, faking it because sometimes it's working and sometimes I still have an oops. And, you know, Lore's like, I don't know what she would say to that, but.
I love that because so then you have like, Thera is still keeping secrets. She doesn't want anybody in her tribe to know. So the only person she can talk to is Lore. The only person Lore can talk to about the whole people are trying to kill me is Thera. So all we need to do really is give them something like that connector, that broken mirror, so to speak, that's accidentally connecting them. And then it's like, oh, well, you're there. I guess I'll talk to you.
Right. And maybe Laura's like, fine, I'll teach you, but you need to help me figure out what the heck happened to us. Like, we're obviously connected in some way. Like, I need to get that back at some point, you know, like.
Because Laura's the one who's adopted. Like, Thera has no question of her parentage. And then Laura over here is like, you look like me, and I don't know who my parents are. Does that mean my parents are your parents? Like, so she could be pursuing that more hardcore even.
Right.
And trying to figure that out. And then Thera be like, who cares? This is, you know.
Right. But it was the only, thing that I could see, like, Thera being like, okay, fine, I'll help you, is like, because she needs Laura's help to, like, really master the skills, like, kind of deal.
And we could always go the direction of, I'll never forget when you said this to me for my Aladdin retelling. You're like, what if the two characters, they don't actually want to help each other? They somehow have either the same goal or their goal makes them need the other person. So I would love. I feel like the conflict would go way up higher and the tension would be way stronger if they don't want to work together. They don't, like, for whatever reason, even though they look alike, they don't care because they're so, you know, hateful to the other kind, and they're forced to.
Right.
Like, is that crazy?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think too that there must be that we can't forget that, like, Laura's dad just died.
Yep.
So I feel like there needs to be some kind of, like, she still thinks that Thera's family might have something to do with that, you know, or she's thinking, is it an advisor person, you know, so she probably has, like, some distrust there as well.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's such a good point. So yeah, setting them at odds, being like, how much can we force them to work together while they hate it?
Yeah. So you guys are giving us some more ideas. I like Amber's point too. I feel like we need kind of a ragtag team building up during the middle, though. So much of this has been only about them. We need some lovable friends. Yeah. So if you guys have ideas for friends and why they would need them or why they would get roped into this, I mean, Boy Crush again could be one of those guys. He's just, like, torn between advisor person and like his dad and, like, Lord, like, maybe he really does, like, care about her. Avery says maybe Thera is great at shifting, but the shifting is too strong since she didn't earn it, so the shifting almost controls her. So I love that point. Yep. So that'll connect into why we need them to sort of, or why she needs Lore.
And by the way, Brianna caught something that is a plot hole, which is good, guys. If you run into plot holes, it's okay. Like, this is so normal to have plot holes during brainstorming. But she said that how could literally nobody in either tribe have identified that they're twins if they do look alike? So that's a very solid point. However, we can find a way around it if we have the willpower. So say, for example, they are so hateful that they don't interact except in battle. And Brittany had said this actually to catch this plot hole before, possibly in a previous live, possibly not on a live stream, but like possibly the kids don't fight until 18. So they just have never run into each other. If the kids are kept in their separate camps, so to speak, and they haven't really gone outside of that dream world, which, you know, maybe it overlaps. We talked about that as well. Like maybe their first time they should have overlapped if they went on their birthday, for instance. And Thera missed it because she, for whatever reason, didn't go there.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers very well, Brittany, that plot hole.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just something we're gonna have to put a pin in it and be like, okay, like, do they really need to be identical?
Yeah.
still, and I feel like that's going to be a debate all the way through this
I
plot.
know, right?
But yeah, but maybe there's a way that we can figure it out. Or maybe Laura has been like changing her appearance this whole time. Like, I don't know if she would change her full appearance, but
yeah, like just changing, totally shifting into animal bits and pieces. Or I can't remember if this was a movie or a book or whatever, but I have read about people having like similar jewelry, I think. So like if they were both, when they were born, they were given like, you know how kids used to have those best friend necklaces that was a heart and one got one side and one got the other. So super cheesy example, because that's my role, I guess, is that one of them has one heart half of the necklace and the other has the other. And for whatever reason, they maybe don't look alike at all, but they see this jewelry or bracelet or, you know, something more cool Viking-like a tattoo, I don't know. And they literally, like, that matches up the way a heart would match up. And they're like, wait, how is this possible? So that could be a different way to have the revelation without anyone else knowing.
Right. And so, yeah, in that sense, maybe they aren't identical, but like they're still twins, but they have something that they realize when they're fighting or something.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like so unique and so identifiable that it's just like, there's a connection here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also connected like in all these other ways right now. So yeah.
And I do think that either way, whether it's recognizing identical twinness or some item or whatever, it seems like in our current outline, we definitely have them recognize at least a little bit. They just don't care is kind of where we're going, right? Because Laura might care. She wants to figure out why they're trying to kill her. That's her reaction beat. And she may be also having like a dual reaction to, am I related to the lion tribe? How do I say it? Earth tribe?
The Earth tribe, right. Mm-hmm.
So she might have that dual reactionary where she's going along that path, but maybe they just don't care otherwise. I don't know.
Right. There's a few other things. And again, we can decide this later, but Jem is saying maybe they only fight in shifted form. So if you can't shift, you don't fight. And so Thera would be out at first because she is having a hard time shifting.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So a lot of really cool ideas, you guys. Oh, there's one about Boy Crush. Hold on, I'm going to read this.
I want to know.
Boy Crush could demand that they work together because he knows that they don't want to and they're distrustful of each other. Boy Crush could demand that that the girls work together. We need like motivation for like why he wants them to work together. But yes, very cool twist.
And Ingrid says maybe the twins are marked after birth, like actually physically marked. So like if twins are rare and special, they give them like some tattoo. It'd be funny to tattoo babies, but honestly, if anybody would do that, the Vikings would do that.
Or it could be like a magical tattoo.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Just like
something that settles onto them. Oh my gosh, can we call their ceremony the magical tattoo as well? Because that's just hilarious. And also, it kind of makes me picture it is like some physical thing settling onto them. What?
Oh, well, we had an idea of like, what if like whenever they get their animal or they each have like a shifting sign that is like only like everybody gets their own and everyone's different, but like maybe when they see each other, it's sort of like a birthmark, but it's like tattoo-ish.
Their animal.
And then maybe they see that they have the same exact one.
Yes. Like basically you're saying they're all so unique. The way like a fingerprint is unique. These birthmark tattoo, magical tattoos are unique. Right. I love that. Oh my God.
Well, like they're the same, but they're like the flip, like they're mirroring each other. So like if there's one that has like, if it's a griffin, which I think give it away if it was a griffin, but say it was a griffin, like one of them could have like it on this shoulder and it's like turning this way and the other could have it on the same shoulder, but it's turning the other way. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And if you put it in a place that wasn't like, you know, the face, then you could also hide it. So it could be something that you don't go around showing people. It's like your personal, very private, you know, like that's how they could hide it. And that's how it could be a shard of glass. Just going back to that.
Right. Yeah. Maybe maybe that's like the scar that Lore has, you know, it's like something that maybe has like part of the symbol that would be like connected to the lion
Yeah,
tribe, the earth tribe.
I love
And maybe like Lore goes to kill Thera and like her shirt rips or something that's like revealed, and then she like can't because she's just like, why does she have the same sign as me? You know, like,
yeah. Ooh, I like that. Okay, what if I'm just really going off of that tangent? I'm sorry again.
I know we're sort of
It's so much fun though. But what if so Lore is or Thera is stealing it from Lore, right? So what if this tattoo, magical tattoo, literally could disappear off of one and go on to the other? How cool would that be?
yes. Oh
Right?
my god.
And then, what if, okay, so what if, oh, no, hold on. Yeah, it has to be in a hidden place because then Thera has to be hiding that she doesn't have it. But what if Lore's shard of glass is that it is a griffin? So she's been knowing for however long, but it's a secret. You're not supposed to tell anybody else. You don't show anybody else your tattoo and all that. So that's why shard of glass, like so easily, is hiding it and her hiding. And then Thera, she has to hide that she literally doesn't have a tattoo and she's supposed to, you know?
Yeah.
How cool would that be? They're both like hiding that.
Right.
It would have to be on like a butt cheek or something. So bad. Ignore that. You know what I mean?
You're a little less private than that one. But
yeah. Like a back shoulder could be cool. Like something. Right. And they could have like this, their way of dressing could automatically cover it no matter what. And it's sort of like the way women wear bras, you know, it's like their culture naturally has something that covers it, so to speak.
Right, great.
Not to bring up butt cheeks and bras in the same 2 minutes. You don't mind.
We're real, guys. This is real.
Yeah. This is real brainstorming.
Yeah. No, I love it though. Okay, so let's move on from this because I feel like there's something that they recognize. Like maybe we're moving a little bit more away from them being identical, but like there's something that they recognize that they're like, okay, like there's some kind of connection. So, oh, by the way, Ingrid loves the magical tattoo. Been trying to kill her. Such a logical reason to have her stop and not kill Thera. Yeah, so we would need to give Thera something for Lore to like not want to kill her.
She's like getting the tattoo in the dream world as like Lore comes up on her to kill her. She's literally coming on to her shoulder if it's on the shoulder, you know. And so she's like, "Holy crap, that's what I have."
Yes. Okay, I like that. Okay, so people like the tattoos. Okay, so let's go into, again, we sort of like want to spend a little more time like brainstorming some actual scenes. Maybe we should also look at like what the antagonistic force moment should look like, because that's more like specific, and then we can sort of figure out other things around it.
I agree. I think the biggest question is, are they each other's antagonist or is somebody else? And I feel like for Lore, the advisor character is pretty antagonistic.
Right.
But I don't know who would be the antagonist for Thera, unless it was Lore, unless there's like a chain antagonist thing going on.
Right. Or it could be, I mean, we did play around with like her instructor sort of being blackmailed or something by the advisor, you know, so it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, or it doesn't have to be too, it doesn't have to be necessarily like an antagonist, like guy. It could be like internal bad guys, like internal antagonistic force.
True.
Or just like a bad thing happening, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be like from a person. But I think if the advisor guy did something that would affect both Lore and Thera,
that could be cool.
I think that might be cool, and that actually might bring them, or starting to like work together a little bit more, although we sort of want to save most of that till the midpoint maybe, but like just like a taste of it, you know, like
like give them both the same bad guy, so to speak. What if the advisor, as we're calling him, what if he really was working with Thera's instructor? So Thera's instructor, maybe his motivation is he actually just wants everybody to merge, and the advisor wants to be the leader of all, right? And he wants his son to be the leader of all. So they're both trying to kill the heirs. So in theory, that's the motivation, right?
Okay.
But then if that was true, then the antagonist guy, the advisor, would still be highly trying to kill Lore. like,
Yeah.
like she should be fending things off, right? Probably by this antagonist power moment, the pinch point. Might be another attack, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Thera, maybe just being made aware that people are out to get her too. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think it's just like, yeah, nailing down exactly what it looks like. But I
Yeah,
think
let's go back to the reaction really quick and nail, because we had a very, very basic one, right?
basic one for the pinch point.
Yeah, or for the reaction one right before. So in the three that you've given us, the reaction beat where the MC reacts to major change, Lore's picture would be storming into the, not storming because she's hiding it, but going back to her village knowing somebody's trying to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
So let's brainstorm like specifics maybe.
Okay.
Like, would she go in and would she say, would she like avoid the advisor and not talk to him, or would she go and confront him?
Right.
And would
Yeah.
she drag the boy crush along?
Right. What do you guys think? Do you think Lore should like return and like try to confront right away, or do you think,
Or should she live on the outskirts and like she's
right,
there in her like mother's hut, but she's like, don't tell anybody I'm back or something?
yeah, she could be like the safe haven. I sort of feel like we need a little bit of hiding. I feel like if she goes back and like confronts right away, one, it's like something that I feel like she wouldn't naturally do anyway. I feel like that would be more of a Thera move.
True.
But like if we have her hide first, then we can go somewhere with it, you know?
Yeah, I like that. So like if she was to just be literally in hiding for the first scene, she could be on the outskirts of the like village, so to speak, if they are in a village woodsy area.
Mm-hmm.
And we could see her possibly interacting with her stepmom and being like, this is somebody's trying to kill me. Like she should tell somebody, but like, can you keep it a secret? And can you look into this for me and figure out why this advisor guy is trying to do this? Is it really him?
Mm-hmm.
It's not super aggressive though, because I remember this beat's supposed to be an aggressive pursuit of their goal.
I think we also want it to be reactionary. So like it's not passive, but she's just like reacting. Like it's sort of like Cam Weiland sort of described it as like they've been like thrown off balance and they're trying to just get their footing back. You know, it's not the point that they have something and then they're like, all right, now I can attack with it. They're like, oh my gosh, I just got like knocked off and I like have to reorient myself now, you know?
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of that, going into like a specific scene, what if she tries to shift into something like, I don't know, leopard to hide in the trees? Wait, they're eagles. So a bird. Some kind of bird to go hide in the tree. But then she can't because she's like, wait, I can't shift now. So we start seeing her try to shift, and maybe she even shifts into something she didn't mean to. And that's our first hint that she's like reacting to what just happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she didn't. Oh, sorry, I'm taking notes while we're talking here.
Oh, good, please do. And then I'll talk about like Thera next. So Thera's first reaction scene, just to picture a scene for her. So she's going home to, I think I liked whoever's idea it was, speak up if this was your idea. Whoever said that she should go through a bunch of tests. I like the idea of either their organized tests or her instructor just making her prove it, that she can do it. So it'd be really fun to see her, like if she was to go back and she wasn't sure right away, because we got to remember how we decided that they weren't quite sure right away and they don't realize that they swapped yet. So she goes back and he's like, all right, here's your first test. So she starts doing, like rituals, like you're saying, number 1, number 2, number 3. Say we could do 3, for example. Very specific shifts, like shift some whiskers on, like shift 2 claws, or, I don't know what, but yeah. Okay. So do you guys like the test ideas where like that's Thera's first reaction scene and she's aggressively pursuing passing these tests? I don't know.
And as you guys are responding about that, because we know you might have to type a little bit, I'm just going to go back because some people are just commenting on Lore's stuff. So Brianna says Lore would be sneaky about it and manipulate him into confessing publicly. So, so we've got conversation there with boy crush's help. So there should be like some helping. And I think that that's what people were saying. Like they need some buddies in their own camp. So maybe we have like, boy crush is like helping. Maybe he doesn't, like he's still acting with his father that he's on his side. And maybe he said, oh, Laura's dead, but like he's actually trying to help her.
I like that. I like that a lot. Because, yeah, a crush is pretty serious when you're a kid. It usually takes priority over a parent.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe he's like, we could lead together. My uncle wants me to lead, but we could lead together.
Like, he's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Anna says, I think she should be kicked out of the tribe after coming back from the dream place because she can't shift, and that forces her to run away and hide and then look for Thera to get her shifting back. So there could be a moment, either that happens right away, or we could just tack that on as a different scene where she does like get caught like being back or something, and that's where she gets kicked out because she can't shift, or they realize, she's like, maybe they realize she's part eagle.
Yeah. That's so intense. I like that.
Okay.
So yeah, like her ability to rule or her authority gets questioned, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. I like it. Cool.
Okay. So, and then do you see, if you're looking at the chat there, do you want to read a couple after there's like Hallie and then
here? Let's see.
Out some more.
Yeah, I gotta find where we are.
If you scroll all the way down, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from the bottom.
Here. Okay, let's see. Oh, I see where you are in the doc. Okay, so right here with Brianna.
Oh, you know what? Yes.
Okay. I already read that one. Sorry, I'm all over the place, guys.
Okay, so I'm not looking at the actual chat box for a second.
I'll go to the chat box. Good idea. So then let's see. With Haley, I think in her story, the girls have a coronation where they have to prove their abilities, and if they fail, they lose their powers. So a lot of people are saying they like the test. I love that. Gabriella likes the test. Brianna says maybe they have ladies in waiting type of gal pals, which is so cool. Ladies in waiting would be cool, but what about in the show my husband's watching, the Viking, it's literally called Vikings. They call them shield maidens. So if they have a bunch of shield maidens that they hang out with, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I think you should have those,
because she totally should.
Younger girl.
Yeah, again, to bring back Mean Girls, I just totally see her being like the leader of the pack, even though she's totally breaking down,
Right. She has like her posse.
Yeah, I love it. Samantha says, what if they start pursuing their initial goals again with these new circumstances? So the initial goal is avenging the dad. Oh my gosh, so true. And shifting to the max in front of people, which could be a conflict with the switch powers and new stuff. Okay, yes. So like you're saying, kind of like with Thera, now that she can shift, she's still disobeying the instructor. Now he's telling her not to shift, and she's shifting. Like, so she just flipped because she's like, I can still do what I want. And, so she's solving things the wrong way. And then with Lore, if she's still avenging her dad, now maybe she's suspecting her uncle or advisor, not uncle. What if, because, she didn't kill Thera, and she sees that they might be related, so she's holding off on that. What if she's like, maybe the advisor lied to me? And so her whole goal right now is still to avenge her father, but to avenge him right and figure out who actually killed him.
Yeah. And maybe it's part of like that moment. Again, so many comments. We'll go back and figure out who said it. But saying that maybe like the pinch point for Lore is that she gets kicked out. She returns, she's hiding. But then she gets kicked out, and like that's the moment that she realizes that the the advisor is the one. Like he didn't just want Lore dead, like he also orchestrated the whole father dying. And maybe Boy Crush didn't know that part.
Ooh, yes, I like that because he would never be okay with that. Okay, cool. I think we have a pinch point then for lore. So her reaction is going back, figuring out she doesn't have power. She's trying to be secretive. And maybe she could even either overhear him actually say, we have to find Lore and kill her. And she's like listening in or something.
Yeah.
And that could clue her into the fact that he is an antagonist. So there's our clue and there's his power. And that's foreshadowing the MP's truth. What's that mean? Foreshadowing.
So whatever the truth is that they find out, sorry, MP is short for midpoint. So whatever they find out, the truth in the midpoint sort of gives them like the ability to fight back.
Okay. So then maybe the truth in the midpoint should be they do find out how they're sisters and all that. That could be
right. I'll put that as a placeholder. Yeah. All right. Hold on.
For next week, guys, we might have an idea.
Suggestion, they find out they're sisters.
Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, it's probably coming up, just being realistic, unless we write them really dumb. They're probably going to figure it out soon.
Yes.
So that seems like the perfect pinch point for lore. So then let's go on to Thera. Who is her antagonist, do you think?
Well, maybe that's the point that lore like goes after Thera. Like, not like maybe totally in a bad way, but it's just like she pulls her out of her like happy place and is just like, look, like,
like
you didn't help me. and Thera's kind of like, yeah, I sort of need your help too.
Okay. I like it because she could be like, why can't I shift? What did you do to me? And Thera, and they probably haven't figured it out yet, but yeah, they could, if they're not looking exactly alike, then they probably don't know they're sisters yet. So it'll definitely depend on if they look alike or not. But say that they don't, and that they have the same magical tattoo, maybe Lore does think Thera just stole it somehow. And then she's like, no, that's not possible. This one's mine. I don't know.
Right.
So yeah, Lore could almost be the antagonistic power in Thera's life, for sure.
Right. Or at least start out as it and then becomes like her.
Yeah. And maybe it would be so fun to play with, like, because Thera's coming across as kind of a bee, just saying. So maybe we could play around with how actually a lot of people don't like her. Like they pretend to like her, but it's, again, kind of Mean Girl style where actually all of the shield maidens are out to get her and they're all kind of backstabbing her and they're like, oh, you couldn't shift then? That's too bad. Or like, and then even the instructor is out to get her, like everybody.
Yeah. So maybe, okay, so I'm just adding in that pinch point that before Lore like comes and finds her, Thera like has this antagonistic power moment where she realizes that her friends aren't her friends, her instructor's sort of against her, like even like her trying to be good enough, like didn't get what she wanted.
Yeah, I love that. Yep. So there's like downward parts of the upward path. So then what's her midpoint truth? I'm trying to remember because that's the trick is like it's hinting at it, right?
Maybe we should actually move that to the midpoint as an idea for the midpoint because I feel like that would be a really bad blow. Like that would be a very big false victory of like maybe there's like this party or something. Maybe I'm sorry guys, we're getting into the midpoint stuff. Maybe like one of the options for midpoint is like there's this big like coming out kind of party and maybe like she's expecting that it's going to be this big like I'm great and like everybody wants me to be the ruler now and and then realizes that everybody like doesn't like her and is against her and she's just like, even though I got what I thought I wanted, like it's not what I wanted.
I love that so much. Did we just accidentally do the midpoint?
Maybe, but we can flesh it out next week. You guys let us know what they think.
Definitely, yeah, we can definitely go back. And we still have to do like so much build up to that. So how would we make it an upward path first? So if we know that that's kind of what we're going towards, what if we, for the upward path, we start with her succeeding a lot? So everybody's like, oh, wow, you can shift. You're so amazing. And her instructor is like, well, not bad, not too shabby,
Yep. So maybe he's still like, praising her and Brianna also says maybe Lore has a hard time trusting Boy Crush for a while because she realizes what she knew about her dad's death and she doesn't know if he's being truthful. So there could be, again, more of a downward path for her. Sorry.
Good, yeah.
Any thoughts, guys, for, upward path for Thera?
Yeah, we're reading the latest comments. And guys, we'll go back, like we always say, we'll go back and read everything else, but I'm reading like the most recent-ish. So right below what you read, Gabriella says, Thera's character is coming together really nicely, but I really like the idea of Laura being more hidden and mysterious in her life, so if she gets kicked out of the tribe, even better, because she's used to being alone. So you're thinking that would be almost an upward thing for her, maybe, if I'm reading that right? Brianna says, but when she gets kicked out, oh, I think you read that already. Amber, it's been fun. Got to head out. Oh, bye, Amber. Thank you for hanging out with us. Ingrid loves the contrasting situations as a comic device. Could be really fun to have that before things get too serious. Like basically you're having the upward and the downward path, like before it gets too serious, you kind of like enjoy the comedy of it all. I get it. That could be so fun. Laura could get in Thera's face over all the shifting. Ingrid is continuing her comment that it's like a harmless situation at first, but then they realize that it's actually a lot more dangerous than they realize. This like difference, I'm assuming you mean?
Yeah.
And I like what Anna's saying about how the boy crush kind of redeems himself by helping. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the bottom, let's see, maybe Thera is a little like Sherlock from Sherlock Holmes, like a puppy dog. False bravado and walls that have been there for a long time. Are you thinking of John Watson, maybe? Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she's
Laura.
talking about the other one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah. And then, so the false bravado and walls. Oh, you're talking like the way that he comes off. Very like, don't care what anybody else thinks. Yeah, totally.
Right, but inside he's like a total puppy dog.
Yeah, I like that. But even more so because like, we definitely want her to feel it and like wish that everybody liked her.
Right.
Laura could find out the sisters through the advisor. Oh, that they are sisters? Yeah, that could be interesting if like probably a midpoint again. We're probably getting ahead. If they start finding out around the midpoint, like if one of them overhears and then tells the other one. That could be cool.
I feel like Thera's mom too needs to be in there at some point because technically she's the only one who knows the truth. Like the dad's dead, or so we.
True. Yep.
Right. So I'm sure that at some point, unless we figure out motivations that would lead her to do otherwise, like she's probably heard that the Eagle King is dead, which probably like it's harmful to her heart too, because she's she loved him at one point, and like maybe she just comes to this head where she's just like, she needs to know.
Yeah. So what if, going back to the fun and games section, so we played around with how the stepmom could be human, right? And so while the shifter culture in the Sky tribe is very like cunning, and actually both tribes are very used to death. They're used to like, one side gets killed, the other one's going to take revenge, back and forth, the revenge cycle. But a human wouldn't be as used to that. Like they would most likely be brought in not quite as, cult-minded, so to speak. And so what if we'd already kind of gone over how she doesn't want Laura to take revenge, but what if we play on that even more and she's kind of the voice of reason, so to speak, and she could be the one to say that they're sisters. Like she could be the one to like lead up to that, because it's either the advisor and she overhears, or the mom. One of those two probably would be the one.
Right. So you're talking about the stepmom instead of Thera's mom?
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Thera. Oh shoot, I was talking about the wrong character.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So I was thinking Thera. I mean, technically the stepmom could know too, so she could definitely be in on this as well. Yeah. But like Thera's mom definitely knows because she birthed them. True. Maybe she sees Laura. Like maybe she like meets her or like interacts with her or like sees her like do something, and it's just like she has this like motherly moment of just like, I need to tell them who they, or maybe like Thera and Laura like about to like have it out, and like she steps in and is just like, wait.
I love that. So if they're not identical, how would the mom know and recognize her? Could it be that they also do still give other magical tattoos? Okay. Oh, going off of this. So in the Viking movie again, they have so many tattoos, like arms and faces and back of the head, and it's just like everywhere. So what if they literally are a culture of tons of tattoos and like more than one, and they could be magical, so there's less pain, you know, like it settles onto them or whatever. It could even be like a cool light or something. But what if parents do give their kids a tattoo when they're born, and so she recognizes her by that somehow? Like, I don't know, because otherwise, how would she recognize her?
No, that's so true. Yeah.
But I really, really like that, because that would be definitely an instance where the mom would be like, it's time. Oh, what if the mom didn't know that she was still alive? What if the Eagle King said he killed her or something? This is kind of weird. Maybe not.
No, that's really interesting.
But like something that would make her like not have looked for her over the years, because otherwise she'd know exactly where her other daughter was.
Right. Does she think? Right, Laura's dead.
Oh, you're right. We're all in the midpoint here, aren't we? Okay.
No, that's fine. But you know what? It's 7:30, and one thing we wanted to do is because I think we have a lot of good ideas, and you guys are still here, and I'm sure we'll have stuff in the comments. If you guys are watching the replay, definitely leave us your thoughts in the comments. But maybe we stop here, because we've been saying like, hey, if we have extra time at the end of these live streams, we'd love to help you guys, or like talk about your stories a little bit. So do you want to do that for the remaining?
Yes, let's do it. I would love to help everybody. So yeah, let us know, you guys, where you are at in your story, first of all, and is anybody having trouble with any of the beats? And it doesn't have to be the ones we've done. It can be future beats too. It'd be fun to chat.
Yes. And I think just as like people are typing, to give you guys some time, the one thing we want to be thinking about too is, as you're thinking about your struggles, like be writing down questions that you have for Jessica Brody, because again, she's going to be here as part of one of our live streams, pulling up the date.
May 1st or something like that?
I think it might be May 1st.
Might be off.
No, I think May 1st. So we're going to be, don't tell us them yet, but we are going to send out a newsletter if you're signed up for our newsletter, and you're going to be able to submit questions to then we're going to ask Jessica Brody live. So even if we can't help you right now, hopefully Jessica can. And when you get that newsletter, there's going to be like a survey that you can fill out. And so you can go to our website, which is linked in the description below. Make sure you're signed up for that so that you can submit your question.
Yes, definitely. I love that. Yeah, so guys, let us know, like, seriously, any questions that you have about story. Or I'm seeing Alexis is talking about writer's block is killer, and oh my gosh, we could definitely talk about that, especially in Camp Nano, if you guys want to just talk encouragements. Tips to overcome it. Brittany has like two videos, you guys, on overcoming writer's block that are gold. I don't know if I do. I can't remember right now, but I remember yours.
Yeah, if you go to our channels too, there's like should be a search bar, so you could always type in writer's block, and there might be one for Bethany as well. You can find mine by searching in mine as well, and I have two kind of, you get 10 tips through that. But I think my biggest, let's see, what's the best way?
Where do we even start?
Well, maybe we should do these like quick too, like just give like a little tidbit so we can get a couple questions.
Yeah.
I think my best advice for writer's block is to do research, actually. And I don't even know if that was one of my tips, but like I always like, if you're stuck, it means like you don't have anything else to grab from. And so like start looking into things that like influence your story. Like we could look more into Vikings, or we could look more into Griffins, or we could look more into like things that are related to your story, and then look at like mythology, or look at meanings, or look at names, and like it might spark something. You could watch a movie that reminds you of like the theme of your story, or like, you know, your characters or something, and just you just might be needing like to be filled up, so that you can then, your brain can work on some new stuff and then output.
I love that. Love that. My advice would be like, figure out the root of it, because writer's block has a ton of different roots. And I did do a video on this. I just can't think of what it's called, but where I went into more, I think it's probably called the root of writer's block, where if a lot of people, actually the root is fear. And so like fear of failure, fear of it just not being good enough. And so at least for me, that's usually when I get writer's block, is like I get stuck on, what if this sucks? This is gonna suck. I hate it. And so whatever the root is, like once you figure out what's blocking you, you'll know much better how to fix it. So like if what's blocking you is just not enough knowledge, like Brittany said, then research. If it's fear that's blocking you, my best advice in this is like, seriously, you just have to do it. You can't like just say it, you have to do it. Is write afraid and just do it anyway. And I just talked about this on Instagram because it's been my thing lately. Like I didn't edit for almost 2 months, month and a half, because I was like, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know. And so I just keep putting it off, but you just have to do it. Like literally when it's that writer's block route, you just have to do it. So anyway.
I've been telling myself lately, write crappy chapters.
Yes,
just
yeah.
Words out, because you can't edit a blank page. So just like write junk so that you can get past it.
Exactly. And like every time you write, you get better. That's another thing that I've been learning lately. So yeah. And the next one is Ingrid is at the Catalyst. So not far from Fun and Games. Feel like you should know. She says, feel like I should know what it's about. It's the premise after all, but it feels overwhelming because it's such a huge beat. So you're feeling like the Catalyst is overwhelming or the Fun and Games? I just want to clarify.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know, Ingrid.
I think she's talking about the Catalyst, and if that is the case, you don't know what it should be about, because then you say the premise. Yeah, so maybe so the Fun and Games is definitely the premise, but you want to figure out like how you can get into the Fun and Games, what's going to get them there. And I think like, I would just start brainstorming. Like that's another thing for writer's block, is brainstorm every single idea that you can think of, and then try not to go with your first few, because they're usually the most cliche or the most like, and get down to the bottom and just think, well, what if this, and what if this, and what if this, and sort of look like brainstorm, like what's the bad news or the bad thing that could happen to my character that makes them break out of like where they are. So if it was the Catalyst, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, don't forget to use the questions at the end of, so if you guys have Save the Cat book, is page 76. So like, seriously, this helped me so much. I remember I would like be writing with this book during the first Nano when I got it. And Molson's like, how many times have you read this book? Because I would just sit there and like reread it. But if you sit and you ask yourself the questions on 76, like, does the Catalyst happen to the hero? Then it makes you go, okay, well, like if you have a list of 5 options, that crosses off, option 1 and 2, because that doesn't happen to them. And then is it an action beat? And it's like, oh, okay, well, my third idea is pretty passive, so cross that off the list. And you can like go over these little checkpoints. And I just think this is so, so helpful, you guys, because it helps you have like a thing to brainstorm around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I recommend going back to this. That's what I got like the whole.
And that book is seriously, it's like a manual. Like I go back to it almost every day. Like, wait, again, and like especially the examples and the genres too are like really good. All right, speed round. Mandy says, I have an overarching idea for each beat, but no specific scenes come to mind. I'm assuming as a pantser that when I actually sit down to write, the inspiration for specific scenes will come, and that might totally happen. But you could definitely have, like we're saying, like just like a big brainstorming session, or if you have a critique partner, like they could help also at least think of a few to like get you started.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you guys saw how we accidentally kept getting detailed. So I feel like once you start, you get your overarching idea, and then once you start developing it, you can't help but, because everything's connected. Like how we were like, if it's a magical tattoo, where is it? What does it look like? How did they get it? And you like, so ask all the questions, because I really think that, and you don't have to feel, if you're a pantser, you don't have to feel like you have to ask those questions during the outlining. You can ask them during the writing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
So don't feel like you have to.
Yes.
Brianna says, at the beginning, trying to outline a multi-POV, Beauty and the Beast meets The Bachelor, meets fairy / witchcraft story that may become a series. Oh my gosh. But story ideas are trying to squeeze in. Oh my gosh, that's funny. So your question is, let's see, you're kind of like wondering how to like not let those ideas come in, or what are you thinking? Because I don't see anything wrong with that personally.
Yeah. Well, if they're like old stories that you've already finished, like you don't want it. So just to be totally transparent, you guys, like there's been some things, some really good ideas for this story that you guys have said, like, hey, why don't you do this? And we sort of, for each of us, both Bethany and I, like, we're sort of like, we can't do that because it's actually in one of our previous stories or in the current story. So like somebody, I think earlier was like, why don't you just call them clans? And like, I have clans in my book, so I'd rather not call them clans. And so there's different things like that. But I think like if you're like sort of getting distracted by different ideas, like keep a separate notebook and like write them all down. So at least they're out of your brain. And then you can like have the brain space to focus on what you want to focus on.
That is so smart. I love that. Nicole says, can someone post the name of the book mentioned with the 3 parts to the fun and games? So that's, maybe Brittany can type it out. I think it's KM Wieland, WEILAND. And then it's, maybe you could even post a link too. So that someone did already?
Someone did already, but it was a lot earlier. But I will find it after this and put it in the description so that you guys can find it. You can also watch Hannah's video, which I do have in the description, and she has either the link or she mentions it.
I love that.
But if you want to look it up right now, it's 5 Secrets of Story Structure by K.M. Weiland, and I just put it in the chat.
I'm totally getting that after this. Anna says, my question's not about a specific beat, but more general. How do you know when too many fantasy races are too much? Like werewolves, vampires, fairies, nymphs, shapeshifters, witches, etc. Is it really ever too much? I'm just kidding. I think that you need to have them there for a reason. That would be my opinion. It's all opinion, you guys. Writing's subjective. But in my opinion, I would say, like for us, we were like, should there be humans or not? And it was like, we kind of need them if they're going to keep things hidden. So it's like, okay, we need humans. So that's why we have that race. And if we bring in other creatures, we would have to like give a valid reason, I think. What do you think, Brittany?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's with characters too. It's like when you know you have to like sort of cut down like how many characters you have. It's like, well, do they serve a purpose, you know? And I think we might have been talking about this earlier, or I was hearing somebody. I take in so much content during the day, sorry, but somebody was talking about, you know, it's like you have. Oh no, it was Bethany, where you like have all these darlings.
Yeah.
I don't want to get rid of it, but like I think Bethany, you were saying you put it like somewhere else, like a list of like, okay, I can use this for a future story. It doesn't have in this one.
Yeah, that was me. And actually, I won't lie, it's actually still in my current story. So I'm editing the beginning just to give you like an actual example. And I completely rewrote my beginning. And so in the complete, like full entire rewrite, I got rid of a couple characters, just one specific one. And I want to bring her back maybe, but maybe not. And then I got rid of a couple other details. So what I did is I bullet pointed them and put them in the next like page down so that they're down there, but I can't see them. But if I need to reference them, I can go find them, and I just keep pushing it down. But you could do the same thing. Like if you're like, okay, I'm definitely cutting this for my story, these magical creatures, but I really love how I developed them. I love their, you know, world building and their magic system. So I'm going to put that in a separate Word document and use it again someday.
Yeah.
I recommend that. Yeah. Let's see.
I think Haley says, I'm a little worried about the switch between my fun and games beat to my bad guys close in. Each of my main characters enters the beat at different times. Do you have tips about the switch?
So do you think, Haley, that possibly your midpoint isn't totally clear yet? Because usually, if you mean switch, like switch over from one to the next, usually, according to this anyway, they're pretty different, right, Brittany? I think.
Yeah. I'm unsure if you're asking like you multiple characters, like are you saying that it like at different points in the book, like one character is hitting their fun and games, but the other character is hitting like the midpoint, which the other chapters in the book, she gives examples of a few books that have multiple main characters, specifically the help. So there's a chapter all about the help. And she does the whole breakdown of like, well, this is Evelyn's like, you know, statement of the theme, but then this, I can't remember the other character's name. So this like, while that's happening, it's actually someone else's catalyst and like blah, blah, blah. So you could definitely look at that if that was your question. Again, sorry if it wasn't.
No, that makes total sense. Like, so you're saying you have multiple POVs, and they really can't enter those things all at the same time necessarily because, well, like with lore and with Thera, what's up for one is down for the other. So it's not necessarily always going to line up.
Right.
I do think that if it's super, super different, yeah, it might. Okay, how do I say it? If it happens like one character's story feels like it's all at the beginning of the book and one character's story feels like it's all at the end of the book, that might feel a little bit off. But the fun and games and the bad guys close in are fairly close together.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking like, you know, one happens in one chapter and then a couple chapters later it happens for the other, I think that's okay.
Yeah, and they're really big sections, so they probably do overlap a little bit.
And again, you got to take, Brittany, what is the one in here where we were like looking for I think we were looking for the catalyst and I was like, she didn't have a catalyst. She skipped it. And I was getting all fired up. And then you're like, no. It's like she moved it to a different spot. I can't remember which one it was.
Yep.
But you remember that? And I was like, oh, dang. So you can flip them out of order. They're more of a guideline than an actual rule.
Right. And that's what I find it really fun to like watch movies or read books now. And like, I take notes and I'm just like, okay, like I created like a Excel spreadsheet now where I have all of the beats on like this column. And then I title a book or a movie on top. And then I line up like just a little brief like phrase that sort of encapsulates what happens for each beat so that I can see like, hey, when I'm looking at a midpoint and I'm trying to brainstorm what my midpoint can be and like trying to like visualize what it is, then I can see all these other midpoints in examples of stories that I really like.
Cool.
Yeah, it's been really fun. I might do a video on it, but
you should because I want to see you like break down a bunch. And didn't you show me a website where the Save the Cat does break down a bunch in case?
Yes,
and that's like, do the work.
So Save the Cat, if you go to, I don't know if it's savethecat.com or if you search Save the Cat, it'll come up. But their official website, they have, if you search Save the Cat beat sheets, you'll get to a page where it has like they're mostly movies, but a bunch of movies, and you can just click and it gives you like the official Save the Cat like breakdown of every single beat.
That is so cool. I would say that's also a really good answer to Ingrid's question next, where she's saying, fun and games is overwhelming. She's like, I'm a plotzer, so I have no scenes in my outline, just ideas and concepts. So maybe the best advice would actually be to go read a bunch of fun and games and just like wrap your mind around like all the options that are out there, and it'll kind of help you put it, because fun and games is very vague. I never say that word right, but you know what I mean? It's very like, oh, what is this thing exactly? So using K.M. Weiland's book with the pinch points, and then also going and seeing other fun and games will probably help you a ton.
Yes, and also what Bethany was saying too, of like observing different, like the same beats in other stories. You can also obviously go to the Save the Cat in the different chapters that she has next, where she takes a book per chapter. Just look at, like, I think there was one time where I was struggling with the midpoint, and I still am, but my own book, and like I just read all of the midpoint descriptions of every single like book she talked about in Save the Cat Writes a Novel.
So true.
It did give you like visual.
Yeah, because then you don't have to go like the online is somebody else breaking it down, I believe. But then in here it's Jessica Brody, and she's like telling you how to do it. So she's giving you literal advice. So yeah. And Gabriella's giving advice too. Thank you guys. Yes, like feel free to give each other advice too in case we don't all get to everything, because we have 2 minutes left. Do we want to do one more?
One more. And I also want to just thank, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but Marshalon Richards. She has, sorry guys, she's been putting links. So the Save the Cat category beat sheet is linked in there now, and the link to the 5 Secrets of Story Structure is also in there. So thank
you. Yay. A lot of people are stuck on fun and games. So I've noticed that at least 3 people have said that in here. So maybe we could, since that's what this is the fun and games, we could talk about that just a teeny bit more. Like give each other advice too, not just from us, but if you guys have anything that's helped you, get through the fun and games.
Yes. Yeah. Any other tips that we haven't already mentioned? Because Jacqueline, we definitely talked a bunch earlier. I don't know if you were here at the beginning or middle, I guess, of the live stream, but we talked about some like concrete tips that you could definitely check out. But she says, my character arrives at a witch coven, but I don't know what to do. So she's not just wandering around. Yeah. So if you check out what we were talking about before in KM Weiland's book, 5 Secrets of Story Structure, she like breaks down more of what should be in the fun and games. Did you guys find that helpful, by the way? Like the realization, the reaction, the point, and then the realization happens. Yeah. Awesome.
I for sure did. I'm so going to read that book. I'm excited. And I should say, like, not to be repetitive or anything, but on page 77 and all those questions, the checklist, if you're sitting there going, what should I have them do? You could frame it again around this checklist. Do you show your hero floundering or succeeding in the new world? So if they're in this coven, and I don't know which way you're wanting to go, but if you're wanting them to succeed, maybe they start doing spells really well. If you're wanting them to flounder, maybe they suck, so kind of knowing, like, framing each scene with your goals and, like, does your fun and games deliver on the promise of your premise? So going back to remember, what is the promise of the premise, Brittany? I'm trying to remember what that means.
It's just like, it's what sort of hooks people into the story. So like usually if you go to like IMDb and you read the really quick summaries of each movie, the promise of the premise is always in there. It's like, Harry Potter is like, regular human kid realizes he's a wizard and goes to wizarding school. So like games is when he's actually starting to be at school and trying to figure it out. You don't know what the super central conflict is and like what he's going to realize during it, but you are hooked into this idea of like, young kid, like scrawny, like, has a terrible life, finds out he's a wizard and like goes and experiences that, so that's like the promise of the premise kind of deal, which I mean, I think we're still sort of figuring out our premise. So that's what made the fun and games a little tough. But
one other piece of advice, I mean, just throwing this out there, is like write what you enjoy reading. So like write what interests you, because I used to write what I thought, and I still do this. I used to write and would still write like, they should probably have this scene where they go, do this boring thing. And I was bored while writing it. And then it's like, nobody likes that. Readers don't enjoy reading that. So you could think to yourself, what would I actually enjoy as a reader? And think up scenes that you would find super entertaining, because that's going to shine through. And it is the fun and games. So it's like, if like Harry Potter, you're at a school, what would be interesting about a school? How would the classes be super different? And you kind of brainstorm along the lines of what would you like? Because that often gets left behind.
Awesome. Cool. People are saying that all of that is super helpful. We are out of time, so we have to wrap things up, but hopefully we got to some questions and helped some of you sort of get back on the right track. We are back next week, same time. We've been doing 5:30 and 6:30 instead of 6 and 7. So 5:30 and 6:30 next week on Bethany's channel. And what are we talking about next week?
Midpoints, and we have some of it brainstormed already, so maybe we'll be able to also set aside time at the end for questions again, and that'd be so fun, because this has been really awesome to chat with you guys and very encouraging. So
yes, totally. It's nice to know we're all like in the same, just like where are we going, what is happening here? But hopefully by the end we'll figure this out, and I hope you guys are still enjoying yourselves.
Yes, happy Camp Nano, you guys. Keep writing. We'll see you in a week.
Yes, and somebody just asked, am I going to have the outline? I have been not so good at that, but I'm going to do it soon. So yes, I will update.
Yes. And if there's ever a little bit missing, it's because we might want to reveal it the following week, what we decide. So if it doesn't get updated right up till what we've done, that's why.
Yes.
Yay.
Guys.
Bye, guys.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.